And January 2nd order. Invocation, please, Bobby Campbell.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, that you continue to bless us and keep us. God, we thank you for allowing us all to see another new year. We ask you to continue to bless each and every one of us. Bless our council. Bless each person. Bless their families. Continue to keep them safe. Continue to bless them. Continue to keep them protected. We ask you to bless our mayor. Bless all of our staff for our city. And we thank them for all the hard work that they do for us and for this community. We ask you to bless our community and continue to keep us protected. Continue to bless all our first responders. Be with them and strengthen them. Continue to watch over us, and we also continue to bless and pray for those families and that lost those little kids. God, I can't ever forget that. We can't ever let that go away, Lord. That's so tragic. We ask you to continue to bless those families. Be with them. Continue to be with them as they can try to make it day by day to get through that tragedy of loss of their loved ones. This prayer we ask in the name of Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Smith.
Present.
Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Council Vice President Sellers. Councilperson Gill. Present. Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Council President Zastavny.
Here.
Councilperson Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record show that all council members are present.
All right, approval of the agenda. Any additions or changes?
I want to make one addition to new business and talk about Jeffersonville City Schools.
So we have me this.
Yeah, new business is going to be right under unfinished business.
Oh, man.
B.
You want to make that B?
Yeah, B. There's no B, so now there's a B. New business.
Sorry.
The first day we didn't have to do business. Forget that for us.
What was it?
What about?
I thought schools. Let's do is schools. Any other changes or additions to the agenda?
Motion to approve the changes.
Second. And motion second to approve the agenda with one addition. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes to be approved.
In your packet is the minutes from the special meeting of December 27th.
There are no comments, so make a motion to approve the minutes from December the 27th.
A second.
Motion second to approve the minutes for the special meeting on December 27th. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Next up, Sue.
I have something I need to say. This is going to be Ed's last meeting of being the president of the city council, so on behalf of all the city council members, I would like to thank you for your service in this past year. I know you've done a great job in leading us and corralling us, and I would like to present to you your gavel, and it's been engraved. A little bit different than the normal picture frame that we get. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much. I was wanting to get a little bit from today. That's nice. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
With that, city council election of officers. Is there nominations for president?
I nominate Connie Sellers for president.
I'm second that motion.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of electing Connie Sellers president, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Mrs. Sellers. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the gavel down, if that's okay.
Okay.
Let you take it from here.
Behave, Zach. Nominations open for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Lisa Gill. I'm sorry. I'd like to nominate Lisa Gill. She's done a great job this year with Board of Public Works. I'd like to nominate Lisa.
I'll second.
I'd like to nominate Dennis Joyce.
Okay, to have a second?
Okay.
Okay. All right,
Roll call.
let's do roll call. Vicki, can you keep count?
Yes.
Okay, then let's start with Councilperson.
And we're supposed to say the last name of...
The last
who we
name, the
select.
first name, and last name.
Okay. Make sure I understand what we're doing.
Right. You can't just say aye because nobody will know who you're voting for.
Okay.
Okay, hold on just a second, you all. Be by surprise a little bit. Let me get my names down here. My initials. All right.
Councilperson Smith.
Julius.
Councilperson Payne.
Gil.
Council President Sellers. Julius. Councilperson Gill. Gill. Councilperson Glover.
Gil.
Councilperson Sestovny.
Julius.
Councilperson Julius.
Julius.
Councilperson Owen.
Gil.
Goodness gracious. Councilperson Samuel.
Julius.
1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 Juliuses. 1, 2, 3, 4 Gills. Council Vice President Julius.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Claims to be approved. Okay, in your packets, you have Parks claims for $27,582.23. I do want to note that the claims that are charged to Fund 217 will be corrected. The accounts did not get set up in time before the claims were entered. Those will be all into that new fund. It's the non-reverting fund. It'll be Fund 209. You'll see all of those activities going there. Request approval if there's no questions.
I think this is just a comment, really, Monica, but we talked about this once before. On the sewage on 501 Crestview, it's $807.
That is more than one bill. They post them all together in one. It's not just
Okay.
one bill. I went in and looked at that. It's a lot.
I just had one question here. 1, 2, 3, page 5. It just stuck out at me. It says granular drain cleaner for $1,349.
I would have to speak to...
It just stood out. It just...
On page 5 or...
Page 4, page number 4. Oh, yeah. Number 4.
It looks like it's, oh, I see it, wow. I don't know, I have no, I would have to ask, I can find out and give you an email as to whether or not what it's for. That's what I'm thinking. But I have no, without any further exploration, I don't know.
I'm not saying to hold it up, but just want to look into it, maybe.
I will look into it, no problem whatsoever. Have a motion to pre-approve the Parks claim in the amount of $27,582.23.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second to pre-approve the Parks claim. Are there any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next batch claims is for general. It's for $312,492.73, a much smaller amount than we've been looking at recently. I went through a couple of these and I had some questions, but I've gotten most of those answered. Does anybody have questions?
You think it should be higher? Make a motion.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second. Are there any further questions or comments?
I do want to make a comment under the local city and roads. I did verify that that was road right-of-way work. Whitworth Park. It's road right-of-way.
Okay, great. Have a motion and a second to approve the city claims in the amount of $312,000, $492.73. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Is the mayor present? The mayor is not here, so report of the clerk. Ms. Conlon? I'm sorry. I have just one thing, your all's next meeting date. It falls on Martin Luther King birthday, so I wanted to bring it to your all's attention. Do you all want to move it to the 22nd? We are going to move it to the 22nd. Okay. That's all I have.
7 o'clock.
Yes. Department heads, are there any department heads who would like to speak? I sent last Friday a packet out. Does everybody have that copy of that material? Sorry. Mama, could I have one for the record, too? I thought I printed 15, but unfortunately only 9. I must have run out of paper. I'll get you one. What I'm here to speak about, I guess I should wait for you to get is, I was hired back in 2010, and one of the things that the previous administration charged with me was a desire to change the software, particularly with the utilities. That was a primary focus, and Lynn can attest to that. That was probably one of the main things that they said. We need to find better software that will meet our needs. We can't get the information out that council wants and the departments need. And so over the last couple of years, I have been doing some legwork, and it culminated with an RFP that I did, prepared off a model that Evansville did, requesting proposals. We sent out requests for proposals to vendors that I knew would be likely a good fit for us, plus our existing vendor and our existing software provider, and 3 people responded or participated. Keystone declined. They are a current provider. They declined not to participate. And as you'll see, I have a list of benefits that my objectives were to get this done. Primarily, it was to get more live data, get interaction between Keystone, or between the data and Excel. Also, be able to manipulate data in terms of getting the reports out in a more efficient way. We got the RFPs in. We asked them, each of them, to do a demonstration, which they did in late October and early November. And based on that, we evaluated those presentations. A committee was put together to do that evaluation. However, there was staff that are end users to attend to it. And we had 2 vendors that were very close, that provided what we thought were similar benefits, and, give and take. And the end result was that we said, okay, let's have them back one more time and have some hands-on use, and we did that. And based on comments from the users, on comments from other cities that are using the software, and just the results that we were looking for, the end result was that we ended up with a consensus that BS&A was the vendor that we recommend to go forward with this project. They also happen to be the most cost-effective. When you look at the cost compared to a 5-year on the left, cost, they are significantly lower by over $100,000 when you look at that, plus the annual maintenance fees. I have already spoken with and gotten financial support from the Wastewater Board and Drainage Board by the dollar amounts that you see at the bottom of the page. They have committed, and these are based on percentages as to what I expect would be their fair share. Basically, it's 15% of the software for wastewater and 5% for drainage. In addition to this software acquisition, we would also need to buy software to track our time and attendance. We have no uniform software that does that now. Some people have time clocks, some people do it on a piece of paper, some people do it in a spreadsheet. It's all over the place. And this automated system would allow us to do that. By making some of these changes, it's our recommendation that we also do some upgrades to some equipment. We would need to upgrade one server, to add a new server, and we believe that we're going to need approximately 39 new stations. That's based on the vendor's recommendation that we get our software and our platform on a 2010 Windows 7 environment. It's not that they won't operate on it, it's just that it would operate more efficiently. In addition to that, my additional costs are included a $50,000 fee for consulting. And this is an outside consultant. When I talked to a number of the cities that made conversions to new software, they experienced some problems in terms of properly setting things up and establishing flows. It created a backlog of problems. And what ended up happening is they brought people back in to fix the problems that weren't set up correctly. And so it's my recommendation that we invest the money on the front end to get this thing done correctly and get the results that we want. I know it's a major investment. This vendor is a very good vendor. They give you a 100% guarantee for the first year. They'll give you money back. If we don't like it, after a year, we'll give the money back. I'm trying to think what else I can add to this comments. Overall, it's a user-friendly product. I find it to be very responsive, the number of comments we've got in terms of their support, and it's our recommendation from the committee, which consisted of, and I should say Len was on that committee, Kim Calabro served on that committee, I had Amy Deering on that committee, and Matt Dyer, so I tried to get across the board to make sure that we were covering getting our representation. Currently, we have funding in place for $250,000 in my budget. In addition to that, with the sewer board and the drainage board funding, if we assume that we finance this and BSNA will work with us to fund this over a 2 or 3 year plan, I'm proposing a 2-year plan. I would need to get additional funding to cover possibly additional expenditures of $29,500. And then we would be committing another 278, let's just say almost 280,000 next year. I would need to be assured that that funding would be put into place. It would eliminate doing any financing, so we don't have to pay interest. It's a very economical way to go. And other than questions I can ask, I don't know what else I can add to my comments. It was a very thorough investigation, and we spent a lot of time on this. And I really believe it's the right way to go.
So Monica, you've got 250 in 13, but you do not have in 14 to make the second payment. Is that what you're saying?
We haven't budgeted for 2014. We didn't do it. We put it in the capital plan, but it's obviously not committed. And this is why I'm here to get the project approved, which would, in essence, obligate you to put that funding in place for the next year. Because this is a capital project. This is not chump change here.
Was this a part of the capital plan for 2012?
I had originally put $300,000 in my budget last year.
And we cut it for the circuit breakers?
We cut it for the circuit breakers, leaving $50,000 in that budget because we did not see it happening before near the end of the year.
Michael, what percentage, from an employee perspective, members are our safety, police, fire, and any other safety folks that we have, of city employees?
What percentage?
2/3?
No, it's about half. We've got about 180, well, there's 75 and 78, 74 and 78, so that's 152. So 153, and our employees are well over 328, so it's about half, a little bit.
As one possibility, I'm thinking we could use weight, because it's for police and fire and other safety for a portion of, in the right proportion, so we do it the right way. It may be an option to help if we need some dollars.
I know that
you all obviously put a lot of work into looking into these different software companies, and I talked to several different people around the building today about it, and I think almost everybody expressed that this is going to be a good thing for us and a good direction for us to move in. But I think we need to be thinking about, can we approve a capital expenditure before we know what the circuit breakers are going to be and where our budget's going to be when it comes back from the State Board of Accounts? It's kind of setting a bad precedence if we're, and I know that's not what she wants to hear, I'm sorry, Monica.
Yeah, say what you're saying.
But I do. I think it's bad business to be approving projects now, because that's going to start the line out the door for all of the other capital projects that all the other department heads are going to want to pursue. And that's natural. We need to do things as we can do them, but I think it's premature to approve anything before having that budget in place.
That being said, Monica, from the date that you sign this contract, what is the date of ramp up and turn over to you and your employees ready to go with it?
It'll be dependent on what we can commit in terms of resources and time. They propose they could get this done in 9 months. I think that we will be challenged to get that done. I don't see this fully done until next year.
When you say 9 months, are you talking about just hardware installation? Are you talking hardware installation, software installation, and training, and everybody's competent with the software?
Yeah. And data conversion. That is going to be the biggest time consumed, because the intent is we're going to be creating a new chart of accounts and all that to get back into line with what the State Board requires. Things have gotten kind of off kilter in a number of places, and there's some loss of logic in terms of flowing from department to department. We need to get that all cleaned up, and this is the best opportunity to do that.
Okay, so when you're talking 9 months turnover, kind of best case scenario.
Best case.
Then, building what Councilman Owen said about, waiting till we see our circuit breaker effect coming back. So if we had to wait till beginning of April, middle of April to approve this, although it may not be as quick as you'd like it, it's still better than nothing?
It's better than nothing, but we would be put back down farther on the line, queue as far as their resources that the company can devote to doing this project. They're going to have other installations that they're going to attend to, and the sooner we get a project manager assigned and get that scheduled out, the sooner we're going to reap the benefits of it.
But Monica, you said in 2013 we have $250,000 in place this year, which would be our down payment.
Correct.
So really what we're talking about is money for 14.
We're talking about next year's money.
Yeah, so 13's already in place.
Short of $30,000 that we don't have.
So that $250,000 is in place, but if we got to start making cuts, then that money's not committed.
And that's kind of what we did last year, right? That money wasn't committed. When the circuit breakers came back, that's the first thing we cut.
I volunteered it up last year, said, this isn't going to happen soon enough, and that's a good place to make a cut. Yeah.
I know the software is beneficial to a lot of departments, but it's an awful lot of money to have the taxpayers pay when, I know she said Keystone, but Keystone sent a letter, and they offer have you checked into their upgrades? I know they just don't have the software for the human resources, but how can we justify the taxpayers paying $500,000 for software where Keystone can offer it and train it for free? We don't have to pay $50,000 consultant fee. We wouldn't have to pay for 29 or 39 workstations to upgrade their computers. How do we justify that to the taxpayers? I would just like to know.
Why, if we don't go with, why are we going to hinder our human resources department with not providing them when that was part of what our specifications were? We're back to not providing technological support to our staff that is current and available to most people in a product that we have available out in the market. Keystone just doesn't happen to offer it.
But there's other programs, correct?
There's other programs, but if they don't offer it, then are they going to offer an interface? So there's another problem. And we've got to remember that Keystone, and Len will attest to this, that every time we make a change in software, I'm sorry, there's too many L's around here, you get an upcharge. Every time you get an upcharge for work from Keystone. And I will remain emphatic in saying that while Keystone is a very good product for a small town or small city, every city that I have spoken with that has used this product has moved to a different platform and a different vendor because they don't offer the broad spectrum of data technology that you need to do what a larger city as complex as what we do has. I cannot...
Was that recent? Because I sent out, I think it was back in August or September, I sent out, through IAC, and all the emails I got from the city controllers and clerk treasurers throughout the state are on Keystone and love it.
There are, again, I'm saying that those are mostly smaller cities that don't have complex activities. We've got wastewater projects that I can't track on the system in a way that would give us much better financial. We're paying UMBA. How much are we paying UMBA every month? 10 million. Could I have Lynn come up and talk a little bit about the sewer and how it would affect the sewer billing?
Well, remember, we invested, the wastewater department invested $200,000-300,000 in a program called Cartograph, which tracks all our activities in the collection system and at the treatment plant. There's also another program that the Planning and Zoning Office uses called Compliance Solutions, which is what you used to work with up there. That program, both Cartograph and Compliance Solutions can be fully integrated in this program. So whatever we do in Cartograph can be imported into SNO or even from New World for that matter. And I don't use Keystone. They won't let me have Keystone, so I have no idea. But what I have when I've talked to our billing office, it's very inflexible for us to generate reports other than those that are programmed by Keystone. We can't make any changes. If we want to send out, there's probably $1 million that we have in sewer department that's in accounts receivable. So we have to wait till 90 days to generate a list to go after people with liens. If we want to send out notices for 60 days overdue, we have to generate mailing labels, we have to have postcards printed out, then we have to send them out manually by hand. There is no integration. You can't press a button or ask for a list and say, I want you to generate notices, reminders that you're in 30 days in arrears, 60 days in arrears. So we're losing $1 million a year by not being able to have a flexible software program to allow us to do sewer bills and drainage bills for that matter. If they don't pay the sewer bill, they're not paying the drainage bill as well. So there's a lot of money that's in receivables that we can't have. It's not easy for us to get a handle and send out notices to those folks that are in arrears. In addition, our software sends the bills to people that are the tenants. And with the new software, we can send bills to the owners and the tenants so that the tenants can, if the arrangement is between the property owner and the tenant, that they pay the sewer bill, we can send the bill to the tenant, but we also we can send the sewer bill to a number of addresses and a number of people that, if Pinnacle Properties, for example, they have a lot of rentals in the city of Jeff. So in the past, we send it to the tenants. The UL passed a revised ordinance that says you send it to the property owner, but if they want to send it to the tenants, they have to come in and sign a letter. The current software can't do that very easily. The new software is if we have an address, we can send the bill to whomever, an infinite number of addresses we can use for one property owner, and send it in. These are all the properties we're sending bills to, so it's a lot more user-friendly for us. And with Cartograph, one of the things we looked at is the ability for us to make changes in reports, and to make changes in the database we have in place. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish now, we've been waiting until the new software comes into play, is sending bills to the property owners through a parcel number as opposed to the tenants. Part of why we have so much money in arrears is because of the way we do the billing. And we rely on 4 water companies to supply us with water readings. Watson, Indiana American, Sellersburg, and Riverside. And they don't all give us the same data at the same time. Every time we send out sewer bills, there's 14,000 of them go out the door. So we just need to be able to do things more easily, and we're a proponent of it because we can't, we've got a lot of money in debt service. We're committing to a lot of money in debt service, and in order to keep the rates down, we got to collect the revenues that are owed to us because of the sewer bills. And I don't have access to my budget. She has access to Keystone. If I want to see how my projects are going, I got to set up my own spreadsheet. The data's in Keystone, but it doesn't give us the ability for me to access to find out exactly where we're at financially with each of the projects. So I got to track that manually. And our department has got to do the same thing. So it's just human resources. We don't have anything in human resources. And part of the solution with this is to allow our human resources department to track applicants, to track personal time, to track vacation time. My paycheck has had the same number of personal hours and the same number of vacation hours since I started here. Because there's no tracking program that can track every time I take a day off, then I should be able to deduct that. So, I mean, we just need to spend the money, and Keystone can't provide all that. And, you know, as I said, I don't use Keystone.
Have you worked with Keystone before in any other cities you've worked for?
Nope.
No.
If I can just also add, Lynn and Monica, about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, when I started on the council, I was asking at the time, we were under the clerk treasurer model, and we had a different, we had a treasurer at the time, and I was asking for various reports, and they told me, well, we can't get that, what you're asking. And that didn't make sense to me, and so I kept pushing, and they said, no, it's this software. And I said, well, can't you just export it to Excel? I can deal with it in Excel. And I was told at the time by them, it can be done, but you got to jump through all these hoops to get it done. It just seemed very odd at the time that living in the world we're living today with technology, you ought to be able to get the data like that. Anything you want, anything we ask for, we ought to be able to get financially. And so even 4.5+ years ago, it was an issue, and it's very costly, and I know there's some hesitation on that, but there's been a need. I know the council's been asking for this, for different reports for a long time, probably even before I was on here, and we were told at the time by different people that were doing it at that time, that it was the software that is not very flexible. That's what I know. So I just pass that on.
When you talk about about $1 million a year, even if we approve this, we're a year out, okay? What are we talking about with this new system? Our collection percentage would go up just based on having something like this to track tenants versus renters and things like that. I mean, I know it's might be a tough question, but
One of the things I think that the first thing we're going to do after we get this new software is at the end of each, if the payments are due on the 10th, the 15th we'll send out, and we haven't received payment, we'll send out reminders for 30 days. Then we'll send out reminders in 60 days. And we'll send out reminders at 90 days before we lien, because we don't lien anybody unless they got more than $200. There's a lot of people that owe over 90 days that are less than $200, so that kind of sits in limbo.
okay.
And with the new software, we'll be able to take credit cards, and we'll be able to pay online.
That's huge.
So that'll take a burden off the sewer bill. Sewer bill.
I forget you over people complain to me.
They've been able to pay it online, so
We will also,
I don't have to come in.
under the new system,
I think it's time
we
to
will
do that.
have one customer. In other words,
We've got
you're a
money this
resident
year,
of
next year,
Jeffersonville,
something happens, we'll
and
take
they
it
set
out
up
of
a
it.
utility
We'll take it out of
account.
sewer.
We will also be able to see that they have an outstanding
They
building
pay
permit or something else that they didn't pay.
Well, that might be-
So we're going to be able to see all of that and better track. Right now, it's the sewer billing takes care of those revenues,
They
and
should
the
pay
building
more.
permit takes care of those revenues, and nobody knows.
Well, that would be
left-hand
probably
from
something that we
right.
talk about
I think
later.
that you will find that when you, yes, this is an upfront cost,
It's a lot of money, but I think that you will see a lot better collection procedures and better revenues coming in, but you will also see more efficiencies once you get everything laid down. I think you will yield in savings what you are investing in dollars. I can't emphasize it enough.
I think in just billing collection through the sewer is going to offset that.
The other thing I think that wasn't mentioned is there was two things that drove us to go with the BSNA. One was the cost, and two was the money-back guarantee. If after a year it's not suiting our needs, they will refund any money we gave them as far as the software and the implementation costs. So really, it's a free year's worth of data if in fact it doesn't work. We would have to go through another software program, we'll go back to Keystone. But, you know, Keystone was given an opportunity to submit a proposal as well. And they chose not to, because they couldn't supply all the stuff we were asking for. Because human resources is really in need of a software program to handle all the people we got working for the city of Jeff. The police department, the fire department, sewer billing, building commissioner, planning and zoning, Monica's office, Parks Department was all involved in the software presentations. They all had an opportunity to look at the software. And based on their ability to look at how things are going to work from them, for their perspective, they chose, this consensus was to go with BSNA. It was the fine line between BSNA and New World. The cost was one, and the service was one. One of the things that irks me to death is when you call somebody and they say, yeah, I'll do it for you, but it will cost you. And one of the things that BSNA, not from BSNA, from the people that had BSNA, was their service was great. There was never any question. They were right there to answer any question you had. If you had a problem with the software or some report you're trying to generate, they would help you and it wouldn't be any cost to the city. So based on other people's using it, so.
I know, I feel like I've heard enough that there's a benefit from the sewer department, billing, and HR department, and I'll go ahead and offer a motion to go ahead and approve the contract or paying of the contract for the, what's the name of the system called?
It's BSNA.
BSNA.
I'll second that motion.
And let me add, I would say, we should probably have to get out of the low, since it's servicing and helping with police and fire maintaining their.
Well, she already has the money in place for 13. You talking about?
And the additional 30,000 she needs for this year, like 29.5.
Okay. I'm good with that. I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the contract with BSNA. Are there any other comments or?
I'm just going to reiterate that I'll be voting against this, not because I disagree we don't need it, it's because we're spending money before we know we have it, and I don't think that that's a wise move. I don't think it sets a good precedent, and I just disagree.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
You want a roll call?
Can I have a roll call, please?
Sure.
That way, President.
Sure.
Sure. Councilperson Smith.
Yes.
Councilperson Payne.
No.
Council President Sayers. Yes. Councilperson Gill.
No.
Councilperson Glover.
No.
Councilperson Sestovny.
Yes.
Council Vice President Julius.
Yes.
Councilperson Owen Reno.
No. No for the record.
Yes, sir. Councilperson Samuel.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-4. Thank you very much. I think you will be pleased. Okay, the next unfinished business that we have up is regarding the flood control districts, and I asked Mr. Ashak to come this evening because I was at the meeting in April or May, whenever we met with all the varying cities, but I think I was the only council person there to talk about this, and I don't think the rest of the people here know what's going on, so.
He doesn't need need to.
Needed to be here for a meeting.
We're going to, but I wanted Lynn to go over the plan first, because we don't even know it.
Do you want him to go ahead and
I want Lynn to go first.
Pass the gavel.
I'm not a member of the Fed.
I just make a motion, does that mean we can get out of here? Motion, can we get out of here?
We could have shared some of these.
Just,
Just
just,
Got big fancy plans. Actually, put them together, if you look at the bottom line.
Do you guys have one over there to share? Oh,
he is prepared. He said that.
you want to roll it up, put it in your software.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
This must be the pond here.
Two things. There was some question about Cane Run and ponding area that serve. There is a good map. I think you need to understand what effect the flow control pump station has on the city of Jeff. You all could find the quadrangle on here, right? Right. There's a big yellow line that runs down 10th Street. And there's yellow lines that run down 9th, 8th, and some on 7th. All those yellow lines represent stormwater. Okay, all that stormwater either goes directly to 10th Street or goes into this blue pond. No, we call that the pond. I'll tell you that about for reference. Okay, so here's the quadrangle. Here's 10th Street Pump Station. That's the headwaters of the Cane Run, of the 96-inch This 96-inch sewer, because there is no Cane Run until it hits the ponding area. So all the stormwater coming off 10th Street, all the stormwater coming off Pennsylvania, and Spring Street, all the stormwater from our separation project on 8th Street, the bioswales that send the flood, they're not maintained properly. The storm water that comes off Bayless parking lot and in the bioswales, all that was going to go into a retention basin, which is part of the Falls Landing Park. Regardless of what you call it, there needs to be a stormwater retention basin there to attenuate the peak flows coming off these big rainfalls we've seen in Anyway, all that water goes through right now through a big ditch and ends up at 10th Street as well. So all the water that you see from the yellow goes into the Cane Run outfall. All that flows through a 96-inch sewer, opens up under the interstate, then it goes back in through a 96-inch sewer, goes out to Clark Boulevard, which is Right here. right here. This is Clark Boulevard. Opens up into what really is Cane Run, which is this little stream. And as far as I know, I'm not a flood control expert, was in dealing with other cities that have ponding areas. Ponding areas are supposed to be just what the name implies, free from any other obstructions that would hinder the ability of that area to pond. Ponding area allows water to flow into it, so that there is no, when the river level is high, there's a place to store that water before, because it can't flow up to the Ohio River by gravity because the Ohio River is up. So that's the place for water to pond, to allow drainage through the city, and not cause flooding within the city that's trying to drain. If you look at the ponding area on this map, there's a hell of a lot of trees. And there's debris in that ponding area that's preventing water from actually ponding. And when the river's up and we have to discharge to the Ohio River, County Run in the lower is ponding area run. If you look at the ponding area, here's the interstate. This is the theater, the playhouse. This is the
And this area right here is the pond area. This was, these were taken with leaves off. So you can see there's a lot of trees and wildlife activity that precludes water from being stored when the Ohio River's up. This, the flood control pump station you're talking about, that little building right there. That's the one we had discussion over months about whether or not the suction pumps need to be lowered in order for us to provide good drainage. So, what would happen is we had a problem with the city of Jeff is when we had, like last April, if you remember, the Ohio River was in flood stage. We had all that rain in April. That ponding area was totally underwater. And those pumps that are in this pump station right here weren't able to keep up with the volume of water coming through there. So we had water backing up in the 96, we had water backing up in Metropolitan Urology, we had water backing up in the Holiday Inn, we had water backing up in the Playhouse over there because it can't get out. We were discharging more water than the Playhouse, than the pump station could discharge, could pump. So, and it's the way that pump station was set up. So, what the flood control needs to do is they hired to do a watershed analysis to find how much water is going to go into the ponding area with certain rainfalls for certain frequencies and durations. 1 year, 2 hour, 1 year, 5 hour, 1 year, 10 hour. And then based on that hydraulic model, they can determine what's going to have to be done to prevent flooding in the city of Jeff and in Clarksville, because this really isn't Clarksville. Once you cross under the interstate, it's all Clarksville. And they're concerned with us discharging all the water from the area you see in the yellow on your map into that ponding area when the river's up. So the flood control needs to make some improvements. What those flood control improvements are, that's for them to decide. They need money to do that, as I understand it.
But aren't those pump stations there really old?
They're older than you and I both together.
And I know the watershed study is a very detailed study, because all I know is what came for drainage, and I know they paid like $30,000 of that, and that's that's already underway, correct?
I believe so.
Yes. And the pump station, both of these pump stations are the original pump stations that were put in the 1940s when the flood wall was originally constructed. And we're talking about the earthen flood wall, the levee, essentially, not the concrete wall that we have in town.
I guarantee you, Jeff, today it doesn't look like Jeff back then.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of history too, because some of you know I love history, but the petition to start the flood control district was actually started by the city of Jeffersonville, and then it became a joint district with Jeffersonville and parts of Jeffersonville and parts of Clarksville. That petition was filed in the circuit court in 1939. Jeffersonville was the one that started this because of the topography. You know, our water flows through Clarksville naturally anyway because of Cane Run and Mill Creek. And that history of it, because we were the ones that originally filed the petition with the circuit court, is the reason that this council has to approve the bond issue. Because what you have is a flood control board, essentially, that's made up of appointed members rather than elected office holders. And my understanding is, while they didn't need to, Clarksville has already approved a similar resolution.
How many appointments are there, and who decides on those appointments?
It's jointly. There are 5 members, at 3 essentially from Jeffersonville and 2 from Clarksville.
Who appoints those representatives? From Jeffersonville.
The mayor appoints those. I know the Jeffersonville Township trustee, Dale Pop, is on there. I'm trying to remember who the other members are now. I know Clarksville just changed theirs. Tim Hauber, rather than Paul Kraft, is on it. Yes, and the mayor is the president of the Flood Control Board. And just quickly, too, I wanted to note that if you do approve it this evening, there are a few changes. There are 3 instances, 2 on the front page and 1 on the second page, and this was a resolution drafted by Barnes and Thornburg where it refers to clerk treasurer in section 2, and then the data station signature line, and also the signature line on page 2, the presentation to the mayor, that the word treasurer should be stricken, and it should just say clerk. And then also the date of adoption under section 2, and then also both signature lines for the clerk and the mayor on page 3 should read January 2013 rather than December of 2012. If you have any other questions about the project.
When did flood control vote on this?
I want to say probably sometime in the fall, Tommy.
Sometime in the fall?
I could find out an exact date, but it was,
And we've been told that the mayor voted against it. Do we know why?
that's my understanding. Part of the project that would be included in the up to amount is that this project has changed somewhat since it was started in 2011. And my understanding is the project has changed some as to how much water will be going in there, how it's stored, and how it's released. And so part of his concern was, what do we need now? And that's part of this watershed study that's currently being undertaken. And then the other concern is about tax rates.
Well, did he have any other options besides that? I mean, did he have any other ideas?
Other than to see how long these pump stations would, I mean, right now we don't know what we need out there in terms of capacity, whether it's an upgrade in the capacity of the existing pumps and the existing pump stations. Do we need completely new pump stations?
You know, it sounds like, and I think we're in consensus, it sounds like it's something that is needed, but the mayor is the president of this board. It would be nice if he bought into this. You know, I mean, we have to go by his lead kind of on this. If he's voting against it, we asked at the last meeting why he voted against it, and if he was going to change his mind and you know, go with the idea, the concept, and you know, we really don't have an answer yet. And we tabled it last month because of that exact reason.
You said that they're doing the watershed study. Is that going to have any bearing on what they, is that what's going to have the bearing on what they actually do? Or would it be replace the pumps, or then would it be ill-advised to wait for that study to come back before we approve?
Well, my understanding is there's a number of things. For instance, Lynn brought up the current detention area that has all the trees on it.
Yeah.
For instance, this is the King line, right?
That's the pounding area.
And I think if you...
This is where the old
If you think about where 65, if you're coming down, it doesn't show it on this map, but if you're coming down Stansford Avenue, there's that large parking area off of, just north of Stansford and 14th Street.
But it's all trees.
That's the Mill Creek, and that feeds the other ponding area and pump station. I've been out to both of those locations with Jorge, and we've walked, in fact, the area that we're talking about here, I mean, we walked it from the flood wall all the way back up to where the Clark Boulevard, where the 96-inch empties. I mean, there's, not only is there a lot of tree debris in here and growing trees, but there's a lot of other plant and vegetation debris. The other thing is that at some point the Corps had done a project on the earth and flood wall itself. This has been a few years ago, and the dirt that was taken from the flood wall itself was actually dumped back into the pounding area. Go figure. I mean, it would have been nice if they'd have put it on the other side of the wall. I mean, it's visible. I mean, there's a visible hump where all that stuff is. Not to mention the fact that since this flood wall or levee, earthen levee, has been erected back in the mid-1940s, imagine all of the water that has gone and sat in there, the sediment that has filled that area since then. So one of the things that I had presented to both the engineers and to Jorge is whether we could include some dirt and debris removal and bring that back to the level that, in other words, let it contain, make the bowl bigger, and let it contain more water. And I think that's part of what would be included in this project too.
One of the things too that concerns me, is right here is where the outfall, there's a 84-inch pipe that goes from ponding area to Cane Run. The headwaters of Cane Run, once it passes the flood wall, it's its way into the high rivers right here, this little structure. Well, when the water's up above that structure, there's a gate that shuts the floor off so it can't go out of the ponding area. Well, that's, forget the elevation, but that's a lot lower elevation than when the pumps start kicking on. When the pumps kick on, the water in the ponding area is above the 96-inch sewer coming out of the city of Jeff. So basically, when that happens, there is no drainage out of the city of Jeff into any place, because this is full, and the water in that 96-inch sewer is plumb full. There's no place for it to go. Which means it starts backing up on 8, starts backing up on 7, starts backing up on 10. It floods the intersection of Spring and 10th Street. That's why we have to add in Spring.
I can tell you one other thing too, with all of the trees in this area, Mill Creek's pretty much, I mean, there's some similarities between the two locations, maybe not the proximity of the trees to the levee, but when Jorge and I were down there, we went to the riverside of the levee as well, and actually looked at where the flap gate is, and at the time we were down there, there was a large tree sticking through the pipe where the flap gate couldn't have even closed, so we'd have been filling up with water there as well, which is another reason why to clear out a lot of the vegetation.
Some of the money we use for maintenance, I'm thinking.
Part of the reason for the amount of the bond issue, there are probably a couple of steps that'll need to be taken. One, if we do work at both of these pump stations, we know it's going to cost more than 7.5, but not 15. At least we don't believe so. And the only way to get to this point is to do it in 2 parcels, one this year and potentially one next year, depending on what we find. But we can do a lot of preliminary work that will help us reduce the overall cost of the project if they can issue the bond and get some of these smaller things out of the way and then decide what the capacity at each of these places really should be.
What's the revenue, the annual revenue of the flood
control?
district?
It's about $1 million, I think. Right, and it doesn't come through the city. It's separate, but it's essentially operating expenses. They don't have a lot, I mean, there's not a lot of fluff in their budget, for sure.
So there's not money there to do some of the hollowing out that you're talking about without the bond money?
Certainly not.
How long do we anticipate before the results of this study come back?
I haven't been in those flood control meetings but I mean, it could be a few months. And the other thing too is there are construction seasons that go along with the flood control projects as well. I mean, there's only a certain time that they're really able to do these during the year.
How long would it take once they started building to get this constructed?
Depending on how they decide to move forward, if they decide to do one station at a time, we could probably see a station done within a year if they can get it in the construction cycle.
So it still wouldn't be done by like this spring, or it would take longer than that? The rainy season is what I'm thinking of, if we have one this year.
I don't even think they could start until after this rainy season.
I didn't think the pumps were designed yet.
Well, there was a preliminary design that was finished.
I was in that meeting, but I didn't think that...
Then the question is, I mean, we don't have that answer yet, Dennis, and that's, in all fairness, I mean, that's one of the things they need some money to start with, is to get this kind of more in-depth watershed study and decide what do we really need. You know, there's still questions out there about exactly how many and how big the pump should be.
And the level...
Based on the changes of and the level, I mean, Jorge has he's been pretty adamant that he thinks that the pumping level should be lowered, and I know Lynn would like to see that as well. That question is not within our control because the Corps of Engineers is going to decide how close to that earthen levee we could dig down in there without disrupting the foundation of the levee.
When we talk about needing some money to go ahead and get some of these pieces going to see what we really need, do we have any idea of what a dollar figure would be? Do we need $300,000 to get us started to see where we need to go, or?
Well, and that's why it's an up to amount. I don't think they anticipate just going out and selling $7.5 million in bonds right away.
My thought was, though, if we need $300,000 to do what we need to do to see where we need to go, well, can Jeffersonville and Clarksville find money and fund it, and then, if we find we need $8 million worth of construction, then we bond and discuss, coming back, paying back the city of Jeff and town of Clarksville the money that they put up front. That way we're not bonding and paying interest and raising taxes before we know what we even need to do.
Yeah, I know it's not an easy answer, and I don't have that number for you. I really don't.
I would rather, if the town of Clarksville is able, I would rather take money out of Edit or something and say, hey, we'll put up $150,000 to get us where we're going.
It seems like flood control hadn't come to us. I know they're being represented, but if the mayor is the president of flood control and he voted against it, we need to know more.
I voted against it.
Because if they always take it item. So.
Well, and the thing is too, is we don't know we roughly know their income, but we don't know how much money they're sitting on, and I'm sure, I think, there's no doubt they don't have a lot of money, but we don't.
And to answer part of that question, they spent a lot of their reserves in the late 2011, early 2012, when the original project was put out with American Structure Point in 2011. So that was probably, for that preliminary design, if I recall correctly, somewhere in the $250,000 range. The hope is that much of that preliminary design can be utilized in any kind of final design.
If we made our ball very large there behind Frank's, we have a channel now, but just dug it, made a bowl, not a park, but a bowl. How would that help?
It would help in reducing,
We
we have not, for various reasons, the treatment plant can't handle its peak design flow. We're working on it, there's been some changes we've had, it's taken longer than the engineers and the contractor discussions. Anyway, that being said, once we get the Mill Creek effluent sewer, 50 million gallons or 35 million gallons we're pumping through there now, what's going to happen?
Gotta have the jobs, initially.
But the last rainfalls we've had,
They're going to have to be probably.
water was coming back into the Tennessee pump station from Cane Run. Because there was a lot of water going out, so we've, water coming off of the 7th Street, 7th and 8th Street Park to our pond, and it's pouring out unrestricted, and that's going to flow out easier than the overflow coming, trying to get out the door from our. So how deep does it need to go? Well, that's part of what Strand's going to be looking at. In fact, they're going to be modeling all of both the Cane Run. Tell us how big that pond needs to be and what we have to do to the ponding area of Cane Run. One of the things that has been a sticking point with the original preliminary design was 4 thinks of these as a flood control pump station, which means they operate when the road is at a flood stage. Well, what causes flood? Stormwater. We're trying to change the way they operate those pump stations to act more like a stormwater pump station than a flood control pump station. And that's trying to shift the mentality of how things work.
We're flooding from the inside.
Right, we need to, they're trying to protect the river from coming back in, but we need to get the water outside, our side of the river, wall to get it onto the river so we don't get flooded. So it's true, and we had a lot of discussions on changing the way those pump stations operate, which in turn changes the amount of money they spend to maintain and operate those pump stations. They haven't been operated very often in the last 10 years, 97 and 2012. That's really the last 2 times that they've been operated. But we need to operate them more, because when the river's not at flood stage, but the river's above the discharge from that pond, we need to operate that pump station because we gotta get the water over the levee.
Right.
If we don't, we're gonna start backing up into 96 again. And we're in the same boat that we were before. So that's changing the way that they operate those pump stations is important to us, is making improvements as well. So,
I'm going to go forward here and make a motion that we table this until we get flood control in here to give us some answers that we requested 2 weeks ago. And plus we don't have the study back. I just think there's a lot of things. We don't really know how much it's going to cost. There's just too many uncertainties.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and second to table resolution number 28. Any other further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And is there anybody specific? I mean, I've just jotted out Mike Lanham, he's the flood control director.
I think the mayor voted against it.
And treasurer, I guess I heard some comments about the finances.
Who maintains the finances for Flood Control District?
I think April Smith actually does most of the bookkeeping.
What is it? What did he say? Or do we want Judge Bears?
We have some part that breaks down over the last several years, their income and their expenses and just...
Sure. Yeah, that's no problem. I know this wasn't on the agenda. I was going to bring this up at the end of the department head comments. Just quickly, I know there was some, if I may, if you don't mind. Is that all right? A quick comment?
No, I'm sorry, I was talking about...
No, I was going to bring this up at the end of the department head comments. I didn't have a chance to, but just quickly, if I may.
Okay.
I know there were some questions from the public about why the city office buildings were closed January 1st and 2nd, and I just wanted to explain a little bit about that. The holiday schedule is approved by the Board of Public Works. There are a certain number of holidays that the city employees are offered off each year. Every 4th year, let me jump back just a second. 2 of those holidays, 3 out of every 4 years, are primary election day and general election day, so 1 in May and 1 in November. Every 4th year, though, there are no elections, and 2013 is one of those years, so there is no primary election day and no general election day. Rather than giving employees the first Tuesday in May and November, they tried to look at other days, and we also waited until the county commissioners had approved their vacation schedule, and we adopted the same vacation schedule that county government did, and that included January 1st and 2nd. And there were a lot of questions about why didn't we use New Year's Eve, but that would have been an additional holiday in 2012. So we worked on December 31st, 2012, we're off the 1st and 2nd, and there's another day, New Year's Eve this year, I think, then. So there was another day moved, but then we don't get the 2 election days. I just wanted to clarify that because I know some questions from the public had arisen as to why we were off those 2 days.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
New business. Councilperson Julius.
Thank you. In the wake of the recent shooting that we're all aware of at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, I think we have all, or I would imagine we have all gotten phone calls or emails about, everybody has an idea, whether it be, are we going to allow guns within 1,000 feet of the schools and so forth. I'm going to make a proposal that the city council take the lead and get with the school board, the police, and probably fire. We sit down, we be proactive, We discuss options. I know that Jeff High has a police officer in there every day, and the school reimbursed us, if I'm not wrong, for having that officer in there. If the school system had a plan that they wanted to all of a sudden, because we're seeing this all over the country, put a police officer at the doors of schools, whether it be during the morning hours or what have you, we can do it. So I think we should be proactive, not reactive, and try and get a unified effort together to see what our thoughts are with them, what their plans are. It's a pretty serious issue that I think our city could face. The other thing that, I don't think any one of us know what the right answer is. God forbid if something was to happen in our city, I think we'd all be accountable. As a city council, as a school board, as a police. I want some feedback here, how you feel if we could have maybe an afternoon meeting, a luncheon, or something, invite them to get involved. Let's just open it up for discussion, see what the school board has planned. If it involves the city police being more involved, I think we need to know that. Plus, I think our constituents are calling us, wanting to know, are we taking some action? I know some city councils, as I said, have restricted, I read an article last week, I don't know what they call it, some military-style weapon. They don't allow them in their cities. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that we should open some dialogue, and, these are our kids. And no matter how much money you put forth, if we lose one to something like this, it's going to be tragic.
To add to that, Dennis, when you think of something like, well, you say leave it to the school system, but if something happens within the schools, it's our city resource, it's our police officers.
Well, that's what I say.
And not only that, we could probably use this information if we do this sooner rather than later, because there's a Senate Bill 270 that's going to be going in the state, where they're looking at offering grant money for putting more resource officers.
I think we could get a step ahead. I really do. I guess my question is, I don't mind making the contacts. Should this be open to the public? Should this be, closed door? I'm looking for suggestions.
I would say probably closed door in the beginning.
In the beginning,
I don't know, there can be.
I understand. I understand that, yeah.
You're talking about like a committee.
I think it's something that you probably need to contact the school board and talk to them and see how they would like to go about it,
Okay,
and then get back with us and let us know.
that's good.
I think we need to move this month. I think we need to set a target of January. We get the first initial meeting set up with the council and the police chief and the school board, if you wish, by at least January of this year. I don't want this to go on to another month. I think if we're going to do it, let's be aggressive.
I'll get it together, and I'd like to have a meeting before our next council meeting personally.
Should we make that a committee that's going to
I'll volunteer.
work on that?
I'd like to
Some people that were recently in high school.
I haven't been in high school.
It's me out there.
Those streets.
Let me go ahead and contact the school system. I'll contact the chief of police and probably the fire chief. And then I'm going to move pretty quick. I'm going to get back to you.
Maybe once we contact, we've probably got 20 schools in the city limits. I don't know how many we have. Maybe we can get any first responder, yellow ambulance. It's just a thought, because if we have something, what do they have in their resources back up? They need a lot of resources, because you'll have to go, there'd be an incident command system that have to be set up. So that might be a good one to have too.
Good thinking.
And then, we could further on into county police, state police, but initially, I think that would be a good start.
Good deal.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I know I'm not a council person by any chance, but the one thing is, I think it is important, and especially to have an emergency response set up for this.
I think it'll lead to that. I really do. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that out. I think God forbid it would happen here, but it's happening everywhere. And I saw on the news tonight, they found a kid, I don't even know how old he was, he was making 20 homemade bombs out of skull cans.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's everywhere, so.
Thank you. And public comment, and we are to Max Whittycamp.
Share. Able to pass around.
Thank you.
You all want to, you can pass this around as well.
I would put it in the bag.
Oh.
What is it?
You can probably
This is
put
the
it in
material of the sign.
Oh.
The exact.
If you go up, you know,
That's how they're saying.
okay, on Platte, yeah, you got government buildings, and you got Cedar Spruce and Pinehurst. Yeah, I tell you where it is, there's a dog fight right there. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, during...
Make sure you put on the street there called Howland. So,
All right, I'm here to ask approval tonight for my Eagle project. Again, my name is Max Wiedekamp. I'm working on my Eagle Scout. In 9 days, I turn 18, which is when I have to have all my Eagle stuff done for Boy Scouts. This is a sign that I talked to Mr. Moore about. He gave me approval for the project, and he said that we need to, he offered me to talk to this Department of Parks and Recreation Council, our committee, and try to get their approval, but they didn't have a meeting apparently till the end of the month, I believe, which I do not...
So, go ahead.
So, I wanted to give you all the information. As you can see by the paper, that's kind of the rough design we're looking at. This is a sign. It's up in Salem where my grandmother lives. She's the one that went out there and looked at it and took the pictures and gave me the information. Along the top, you can see that there's a crest that's the city of Salem. There would be a crest going all the way across the top saying City of Jeffersonville, since it's a much larger name. We have welcome to Highland Park, as the paper says, primitive walking trail. We have this small hiker emblem next to a GPS map trail that we have had done by one of the scout leaders in my troop, which also shows the exact mileage, which I believe is right at about half a mile. And then also possibly adding Eagle Scout project by myself at the bottom as of 2013.
Were you going to put the city emblem or just City of Jeffersonville on there? What were you...
City of Jeffersonville.
Do we have specific colors that need to be used in the parks?
You know, I was thinking maybe it'd be best to have Shane Corbin sign off on the final product.
Well, I was thinking Paul.
Or Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
do you have a deadline for this? You said you...
9 days.
I have to have it done in 8 days, actually.
You can get the sign done.
I would like to try to get the sign done before my birthday. Yes, sir.
What my suggestion is going to be is that you go to our Parks Director,
Mr.
Paul Northern, and show him what you want, ask him for specifications as long as it meets up with our other park signs, and then I have a problem.
Could we give him like pre-approval with that?
Yes.
Pre-approval.
Yes.
And then
Approval with Paul Northern.
And that'll satisfy what you need, because this will have to go through parks, and we've got some standards and stuff, and it'll have to fit within them standards, but a pre-approval would, I think, satisfy what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, that's as soon as we could get it done. So I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? A second.
You gotta pre-approve this, and for him to get with Paul Northern and look it out.
Subject to the standard city
Parks standards and so on and so forth.
Can I have a motion, a second? Any further comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, you're saying you have somebody that can produce this sign in 8 days, is that what you said?
They can actually get it done in 3 days, I believe. They can have the sign made. And as you'll see by this picture here, we have the,
Oh, it's already there.
it's all set up, we got it done, because we weren't sure on timing, we just want to go ahead and get it out there and set up and everything, so.
So then Paul's already aware of the signing then?
Yes, I met with him in November. I walked out with the trail with him, we talked different ideas, and we got the idea of having a trail sign done and maybe adding the map of the area, and he liked the idea, so I could give him a call and colors.
What's the cost of that sign right there that you're showing? That's $70?
This one right here?
Yes.
sir. It's $70, but the amount for that has already been donated.
Cheap. Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if he goes to Paul and Paul says, well, it's going to be 4 months before our people can make a sign, can he temporarily put one of those up for $70?
No, we weren't going to have Paul make a sign. We're just going to ask him to do it, make sure the colors and stuff.
The standard sign colors.
Yeah.
To conform to
Is that going to change the price for you? Are you paying for this? My mom's boyfriend did. He donated just $70 for the project.
We want to make sure that he goes there and this doesn't take so long that he doesn't get a sign up because we're dragging this through a process.
It's, yeah.
Well, I'm not worried about the cost, I'm worried about the entire cost dealing with it because it's project done. Whether it's $70 or $270,
Okay, you have a call for it. I have a motion, a second. Are there any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations on your project.
Thanks for choosing Jeffersonville.
Okay.
I'll be loud.
No, those are the sheets of paper.
Oh, that's just textbook. I wondered what it was. Okay, council comment. I'll start here with Councilperson Smith.
Just briefly, I've sent an email to Brian Glover, who's on the Board of Works. We've had some speed limit sign issues downtown, especially along Chestnut Street. I noticed that the street department started installing signs. I did talk to Lisa Gill a little bit today. I would like for Brian to bring that up to the Board of Works Wednesday. I'm in court and I can't make it, but just to make sure that they have been approved through the board, even though they started installing them. That just kind of reaffirms it in case somebody gets a ticket and the sign's legal.
Well, I know, go ahead,
I think that was it, just so you're aware of it, and that they have started installing the speed limit signs today, but just, but no, that's really all I got.
So you got Councilperson Payne?
Congratulations, Carly, and we're looking forward to you leading the council for the next year.
Oh, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, Councilperson Gill?
Congratulations to Vice President Tony Sayers and Vice President Julia. One thing that we need to kind of maybe set a date and move on is we need to get the city court budget worked out with Monica. Okay. We just need to get moving on that. I met with Monica earlier and I pulled Madeline in on that. That's something we really need to get moving on so we know what's going on.
I have that and another issue.
I'm on the outside.
If the council
I guess I'm on the outside.
delegate the audit issue as well to the finance committee.
Again?
And, the finance committee will meet with me in the next week, so I can gather that information. And, we can proceed on both of those.
Did you just want to send an email out, some dates and times that's good for you, and then we can all reply?
Yeah, I think members on.
I know.
No, we'll probably regroup.
But,
I know. Well, I'll talk about when we get to the end.
okay.
You done?
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up the software. I know it is much needed because I've talked to a lot of the department heads, but when I'm sitting up here as a council person, I just feel like I have to justify it to the taxpayers. I know you've done a lot of when we asked the department heads to cut back on their budget, it was just sticker shock. So, I mean, I know it's needed, but I just want everybody to know that that's where my vote came from.
Councilperson Glover?
The only thing I add to Mike's comment was, or Councilman Smith's comment, at JNLA it was brought up that there was a concern about speeders, and if a sign wasn't posted, that a police officer couldn't issue a ticket. And that night I spoke with our prior chief, Chief Derringer, and current Chief Green, and they both said, no, that's not the case, that state statute says it's this, but if the reason we would post it would be to lower that speed other than what state statute is, so I just wanted to verify that and talk to JNLA. Correct, and if we want to post it 20, which is in some neighborhoods have posted or moved them to 20, that's why they posted, but I will follow up on that to make sure. And I just wanted to pass that on because we do have some people here that are from JNLA, and I didn't want that message to go too far, so.
Councilperson Sophomore?
Congrats, Connie, good luck. On the council this year. Dennis, congratulations. You probably don't talk about it, but there's a number of city council appointments we need to make. I'll probably do it next meeting, I guess.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. Council Vice President Chulo?
Over the holidays, I went in to see Sarah Green at the animal shelter. I've been trying for a year to get in there, and believe it or not, it's right across the street from my business, but I hadn't made it in. And I came in on the day they were doing all the slicing and dicing, and I wasn't going to help, but...
for those of you who don't know what he's talking about.
And they are really doing a nice job, and it's very, very professional. It's very clean, and I met most of the staff. I did meet the surgeon that I guess comes in from Louisville. Great people. And I know Sarah's not here, but I just wanted to tell her she's doing a great job, so. Scared me.
Councilperson Owens?
Could we go ahead, we talked about in the last Parks Authority meeting, doing sort of a soft opening for Bissing Park in January, because the park is near completion now. Could we go ahead and consider setting a date for some sort of walkthrough before the next Park Authority meeting, or before the next Park Authority meeting if you'd rather, just to kind of get everybody out there, walk around the park, see everything, give the public and the neighbors an opportunity to come out, walk through the park with us, see what's there.
I thought he was going to he wanted us to come out and look, but he wanted to do the soft opening a little bit later in the year.
That's not the message that I got.
Oh, I thought that's what he said, but...
Because we are at that stage where it's all there pretty
He
much.
said April, but...
Is anybody...
Yeah,
I'm for that.
I'm going to supply some hot chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at any of the weather for the next few weeks, but is there a day that's better, or day or night that's better for anybody? Not better?
You talking about for the community? Or just for us?
I guess it would be a little bit of both.
I think it would be a Saturday if it's for the community. I mean...
It's a little short notice if you're going to do the community. It probably should be...
It would be probably just the direct neighbors, I mean,
The joiners.
right.
Well, now that we've said that publicly, I don't want people to feel slighted like they're not invited. So...
Yeah, I mean, it's open to the public.
Yeah, I know.
So then the
In a
19th,
few weeks, you want to just do it February 2nd?
February 2nd.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Does anybody take issue with that? Setting up
That's Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. We'll have to put out the first
Yeah, I think we need to
touch base with him.
Okay.
And see what works for him.
Sounds good.
We can double it, make it a Groundhog Day celebration.
There you go. There you go.
Watch the
Mine is a groundhog.
I think there was something else, but that's okay.
Okay, Councilperson Samuel?
One of our last meetings in December, when we had the public art report from the study committee, there were some pieces of that report that we agreed to implement, or we want to implement, and I want to keep us moving on that. With that, we don't intend to reinvent the wheel. We're looking at what other communities have done, and I had a little bit over a minute clip to show, but the battery died on the laptop, so we'll have to show it later. But it was from a small community called Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's called Pawtucket Rising. It was a city that's was comprised of a lot of mills, large industrial buildings, and it showed how they turned they were on a waterway as well. They turned that into an arts area and district, and they divided the buildings up for what we were talking about maybe doing downtown, or in some of downtown. And it was a really neat thing how they used the arts as a catalyst to turn some of those old things around. And it was, there's a longer version of it that's an hour. We don't need to see that. But it's online. If you look at Pawtucket, Pawtucket Rising,
It's really good. Then also there's Silver City, New Mexico. They have their arts and cultural district plan, and it's really in depth with what their city's doing. And so we're looking at different areas, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. And part of what we have to do, or what we said we would do, was get a committee together. So I'm asking you to think about this for our next meeting, because we want to take it from the study phase that we've already done to an implementation phase. And if we can, I'll communicate with you guys before our next meeting that we need to be thinking about who we want to try to appoint.
How many appointments do we have?
I need to talk about that, the number. It's going to be a smaller group, probably 4 to 7 members initially. At least that was my initial thought, and then if there's other reasons why it needs to be different, we can. But I'd like to at least get some names and get those appointed, or have the names by our next meeting if possible, our last meeting. And that's that. And then the last comment I would make, and I touched base with Monica about this before, but she had talked about coming up with 2 budgets, if you recall. We submitted our one budget to the state. We know it's high, and we know it'll be cut, and making sure that we maintain our costs within the departments. And she said that we don't have a second budget out there and developed or approved, but she's communicating with the staff, with the department heads, that we have to really watch what we're doing. So just a reminder that we need to be looking at that within the next month and a half to actually work with the budget that we know we'll have. And once we get those cuts, we'll have to make the dollar figure, we'll have to make those cuts. That's all I have.
Okay. I was going to talk about the appointments, and we'll do that at our next meeting. I'll get together with Ms. Conlon. I think I've got the sheet up in my office. Found it when I was cleaning. Yeah. And also, I'm going to be contacting Diane Williamson and asking her to get our redistricting maps in our next magazine that goes out, so people will know what districts they're in, and also maybe we can get that online so that people will know. And then also the Finance Committee, it's like we were asking who was on it. I think Nathan was. Do you want to continue?
I will defer.
You will defer. Mr. Smith, I believe you were on it.
I would welcome anybody else that would want to be on it. I
Well, we
was
should
on
have
it.
up to 4, so would you continue, I'm asking, would you continue being on it? I would like to be on it, but...
I'll continue, but I'll be 5th. If you have 3 others, I mean, I was on.
I would let somebody else take it. The only reason...
If we let everybody else take it, nobody's going to be taking it. I will stay on it.
We're spending a lot of time with police and fire.
Okay.
I mean, a lot.
I'd sit on it.
I'll do it if you want me to stay. You tell me.
I would...
Okay, I'll stay on it.
Okay. And then Lisa, you stay on it? Okay. Do you want to be on it, or...
If nobody at Mount wants on it, that'll be 4. That's our...
Okay.
Okay, so Julia's Gill.
Yeah.
So, we get an email from him.
Okay, great. And that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
That was quick.